order the July 2021 Finance Committee meeting at 6:45. The chair would entertain a consideration of claims.
You can.
I'll let you.
So make a motion for the consideration of claims to be paid in the amount of $239,266.19. A lawn credit card in the amount of $1,091.48. Manual checks in the amount of $6,964.77. Payroll and liabilities for July 2nd, 2021. And July 9th, 2021, in the amount of $214,744.58 for a total of $462,067.02.
Second.
We've got a motion by Councilwoman Salisbury and a second by Councilman Paranto. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Is there any other items on the?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
We have nothing.
All right, then we'll adjourn at 6:46.
with them and to accompany them in the things that they do. We're grateful for the citizens of Riverton and how grateful we are for the enjoyable efforts that they've made the last few weeks to enjoy Riverton. We're thankful for this location and for the security that we have here in the mountains, and we ask for thy blessings to continue with us. We might recognize thy hand in all things, and we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Would the city clerk please conduct roll call?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilman Dean Peranto.
Here.
Councilwoman Lindsay Cox. Here. Councilman Mike Bailey.
Here.
Councilwoman Carla Borders.
Here.
Councilman Kyle Larson.
Here.
Councilwoman Christy Salisbury.
Here.
Mayor Richard Gard.
Here. I declare a quorum is present. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of an open container permit application to the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Larson has the motion, and Councilwoman Borders has the second. Any council discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Communication from the floor, citizens' comments. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council regarding an item that is not scheduled for public hearing will be given the opportunity to speak during that public hearing. Anyone wishing to address the council on any other item may speak now. I would ask those individuals who wish to address the council at this time to approach the podium and identify yourself for the record.
My name is Darrell Watson.
How are you tonight, Darrell?
I'm doing well. Mr. Mayor, how are you?
I'm great. Appreciate you coming.
Thank you. Good evening to the mayor and the rest of the council. I'm a resident of the county, not of the city, but I've managed a business in Riverton for 17 years, which provides sales tax revenue to the city, so I'm hoping that I'm qualified to speak in front of you tonight. 99% of the time, you would never see me. This is the 1%. I'm here to tell you how strong our mayor is, and would hope after my story, you might reconsider the ordinance that did not pass, 21-014 at the last meeting. On Wednesday morning, June 23rd, I arrived at my business using my typical two-block alley access because one cannot turn left during a major road construction project in Riverton, which I 100% support. What I didn't plan on seeing is when I pulled into my parking lot that all the right-hand turns had been blocked off as well. So you could not enter for our facility without going through two city block alleyways. I had 3 semi-loads of freight coming to our facility that day, and I knew that. So I went out and I moved some cones around so they could at least come in, swing right, hard right, and come into our facility and then leave. And go back right down the main street. The cone stayed that way till around 1 o'clock when I went to lunch. 2 o'clock I come back, the cones were back in their original place, and I had a front-end loader parked in front of an entryway, a backhoe, and a pickup truck attached to a trailer. You could not enter our building unless you come up the alleys and come through a side street through the last remaining entrance we had. But that was kind of messed up because we were putting water lines in on North 7th West as well. It was difficult to get in. I went out and discussed the issue with the construction company, asking them how my customers or freight company were going to enter my facility. They said they can't drive through our construction site. I said, well, we could move cones here, and we'd have a little pathway they could get in. He said, it's our construction zone. We're not going to move them. I said, okay. I said, I'll call the mayor. He said, do what you need. I said, okay. So I went back in the building, and I called the Public Works. Well, I drove to the Public Works Department. I got down there. The gentleman I needed to speak to was out at that time. They took my name, my phone number, and I said, I'm on vacation Thursday, Friday. I need to hear back by 4. They put that on the note. I left. I waited about 3:25. I called City Hall. Asked for somebody that I could speak to, the city administrator, somebody that I could talk to about the access issues. I'm gone the next 2 days. I need to hear something back by 4 o'clock so my employees don't have to deal with this in my absence. I left a voicemail, and said, please call me by 4. 4 o'clock, I'm not a patient person that long. 4 o'clock, I went in search of the mayor, who I found at his private business. He was on the phone. He said, hey, sit down, come in, I'll be done in a second. Told him about the access issues we were having at the store. Said I'd already went to the Public Works Department and I'd called City Hall. Typical Mayor Rich Guard fashion, he goes, what do you propose we should do? Because he's going to want to know, the issue and what the solution would be. So I told him, same thing I told them that day. I said, if you would like, take a drive up there and take a look around and see what you think. Proceeded towards my house. I get a phone call from one of my employees. Mayor Guard's in my building. He said, this isn't right. We're going to have to figure something out. The next morning at 7:30 a.m., as my employees were arriving to work, there was access granted to my building. The construction company come in and pointed it out. Plus, let me go back. They'd also blocked off the business in the next block from mine to the east. You couldn't access their building from the street either. So their employees come in, they'd open 2 business accesses, turning right, which is in Riverton the way it should be. You don't want them backed up. People turning left. You can't have that. Approximately 10 minutes after that or so, Mayor Guard and the owner of the construction company entered my facility. Said, I hope this works out. If there's any issues, here's 2 phone numbers, here's 2 names. Call us if you have a problem. They left. I'm not sure if Mayor Guard contacted City Hall or the Public Works Department to tell them that he had my issues under control. I'm not sure how that dialogue went, if it went at all. Here's what I do know. I do know that Mayor Guard came to my facility probably within 30 minutes of me being in his business to see the problem. And I also know that by the next morning, there was a resolution. And that's kind of how it went. What happened in my facility, at our facility on June 23rd and 24th, is a strong mayor. And eventually the buck's got to stop somewhere. So that's what I have to say. Thank you for entertaining my voice. Okay?
Thank you, appreciate it.
Since I'm a county resident, I'll probably just go now.
We would love it if you'd stay.
I will stay.
Just pay the
He's
fee at the
kidding.
door.
You can go if you want.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak?
My name is Julie Buller, and I'm here as a citizen and the Riverton Ambassadors. And I would just like to thank the city, and I was hoping Megan was going to be here tonight because I wanted to thank her personally. This was her first year for doing the balloon rendezvous, and what an awesome, Kristen, you can pass it on to her. She did an awesome job, so I wanted to give her a kudos tonight and tell her thank you for what she did. And the city had a part in that too, so thank you. That's number 1. Number 2, I just wanted to invite you all to come. Yes, you do have 2 representatives to the Wind River Visitors Council, myself and Hal Herron. Hal will be absent from the meeting this week because his mother just passed away. I'm not asking you to come because I'm solo. I'm asking you to come if you have the time, because I just feel like you guys getting a report once a year on the budget from the Wind River Visitors Council is probably not really giving you a full, accurate account of what's going on with the Wind River Visitors Council. So the next meeting will be this Thursday at 10 a.m. over at Shoshone Senior Center. So if any of you have that time open, please come over and join us for that. There actually is going to be a new proposal to the board too. Some more money came down from the CARES Act, and so we're going to see a budget request from the new executive director for that. So if you have time, come over for that. The third thing I was going to mention is that Christy is your representative liaison to the Chamber Board, and the Chamber is making the decision this week to hire a new executive director, and the city and the Chamber definitely need to get back into a partnership. So if you guys have any input in who you think they should be hiring for that and who the heck they actually have resumes from, get a hold of Christy and she can share that information with you, and get a hold of the board members and give them your thoughts and opinions. And I'm going to share my thought and opinion. We have a wonderful applicant, executive director position, Janet Winslow, who's here, and I just think we've been working together for a year and a half now, and I can tell you her heart is vested in this community wholeheartedly, and she will do everything she can to progress the city forward. So from the Riverton Ambassadors standpoint, I just want to let you know that that's who we're supporting, so. And the fourth thing I wanted to visit with you about is 2 weeks ago at your meeting, I didn't speak when the mayor put the ordinance forward about the strong mayor because I didn't have enough information about it. I listened to everybody speak. I really had hoped it would get on to the next level so there could be some more discussion with that. Before I say more about that, I do want to tell you that for the last 2 years, I've interacted very closely with a lot of the city folks, Tony Tolstead, Kyle Butterfield, Megan, down at the city, Brian and Rusty, and I can say nothing, and I've worked a lot with, thank you, him too. Oh, and their dog catcher, yeah, she's been amazing too. Anyhow, I cannot say enough good about the city. You know, I've been out there promoting it, and some people have said to me, their city's letting you put banners up, and they're letting you do this, and they're letting you do that, and it's like, they're not letting, Kyle's got his staff out there doing it for us. I mean, the city has just jumped in and is doing everything they can to support all of the community events and activities that we going on. And I just can't thank all of you guys enough, and the council and the mayor. I've been in Rich's office. I don't even go to his office. I just text him and call him while I'm out doing my power walking, tell him what we need and what's going on. And that's the same with all of you. I have to tell you a quick little funny story. So somebody knew I was working with when I was out doing my power walking, and I was asking for, we were just talking about everything. Well, I heard later that that person was really concerned about me because they said, God, she's out of breath when I was talking to her. Anyhow, so in reference to the strong mayor, I've talked with Christy, I've talked with Rich, I've talked with Mike, and I briefly got to talk to Carla a little bit. But I guess, in my opinion, the voters, the citizens, we get to be heard through the council and the mayor that we vote. And so if we just restructure, but yet we've got a great city staff, if we can restructure this so that it works for the citizens, the mayor, and the city, I say we should take another look at it. And in response to some of the comments that were made last 2 weeks ago, one comment was that, well, what if we get an 18-year-old mayor in there? I say kudos. If we got an 18-year-old mayor that we voted in that's willing to take this city forward, then so be it. Some of the other comments were that they wanted to have consistency and continuity. Well, we've had just as many mayors if we had city administrators. So, I mean, the continuity, it's all in who we've got there, who we vote in. And I don't think, and the other thing, big thing I want to say, I'm going to say one more thing first. So the other thing is that some of the folks made it sound like Rich the mayor would have all the control and would be marching forward with this. Well, that's not the case. I mean, it's going to be maybe making the recommendations, but it'll still go to the city council. And if he is going to fire somebody, he's not going to do it without going through all the legal recourse that city administration would go through. So we have checks and balances, and maybe just the word strong mayor is threatening to people. Change is always scary, but change should be positive. We should be looking at ways to make that a interactive, positive way. And I am going to say that through all my experiences over the last 2 years in working with the city and the mayor, it appears to me that Rich has done the strong mayor management already through the way he has handled things with the city. I feel like the staff has a lot of respect for him, and when he asks them to do things, I think they do it out of respect for him. So I wish that we could put together or you guys, whether it's citizens involved with it, or just you guys, I wish there could be some kind of roundtable discussion, and that's what a lot of us have talked about. If we could have a roundtable discussion to where we could make this something that worked for everybody involved. The voters, the citizens, the staff, the council, and the mayor. So, and you guys, we appreciate, when I say we, I speak for the Riverton ambassadors, we appreciate everything the city's been doing to help us out. It's been amazing. We love our partnership, so we look forward to a long, continued partnership with the city. Thank you, guys, all over here for everything you've done to help us out. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council? Seeing none, we'll move on. Would the city clerk please read the consent agenda items by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Approval of the minutes, July 6, 2021, regular council meeting. Approval of the minutes, July 14th, 2021, special council meeting. Approval of the minutes, July 20th, 2021, finance committee meeting. approval of the Finance Committee recommendations for July 20th, 2021, approval of the municipal court report for the month of June 2021, and the addition of an open container permit application submitted by Courtney Hanger for a family fire poker run and benefit dinner on July 31st, 2021, from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. It'll be located on North 7th Street East, beginning at Main Street and ending at the alley before East Fremont Avenue.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Are there any additional items that we need further discussion?
Your Honor, the Finance Committee met earlier this evening and approved the consideration of claims to be paid in the amount of $239,266.19, Elon credit card in the amount of $1,091.48, manual checks in the amount of $6,964.77, payroll and liabilities for July 2nd, 2021 and July 9th, 2021 in the amount of $214,744.58, for a total of $462,067.02.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda item as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Salisbury has the motion and Councilwoman Borders has the second. Council discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I need to abstain from any warrants paid to Traveling Computers or to Wyonet.
Okay,
And I'll abstain from the Bailey Enterprises line items on the budget.
thank you both. Oh, excuse me.
I can wait.
I was going to tell you after we got done voting.
Give us just a second. My mistake. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Excuse me. We would like to hear from you.
Sorry, I was on my heels a little bit on that, coming up to comment. As a business owner and commercial property owner, trying to get a clarification of recycling in the city of Riverton. Obviously, we've got residential recycling, which has been, for me personally, been working very well. Neighbors agree. From a commercial property owner, just wondering how or what can be done. For instance, a business that we have right now, we have recycling that we've out-resourced with CES for cardboard, but real big influx that we're seeing is plastic, number ones, number twos. I mean, just to give it in perspective, each week that someone comes and picks up our recycling and residential, we may have a 5-gallon bucket. In commercial, I would have a dumpster per week. So, I mean, I'm looking at the future for kids, anything else, but trying to preserve future, I'm dumping I mean, we're talking the big dumpsters. So, wondering what the city council, I looked up the laws and stuff, commercial/residential, but after all the contacts I've been in contact with the city, I get the presence that commercial is kind of subdued or kind of an underlying statement of we just don't do it. You know, I reached out to Mayor Gard in this respect and just clarification on this, if we can see if this would be viable for the city to look into possibly cleaning up the bulk on this project type stuff. So just
Jason,
really
could
like
you
to-
state your full name so the audience, the television audience, is probably one of the first times you're on television, so
Yep.
we want to get it right.
Jason Howard.
Thank you.
Yep.
Jason did call me and ask about plastics, and we collect some recyclables, mostly household recyclables, and so maybe we could have a further discussion with you of exactly what your plastics are. And I think Kyle's better at this than me, Kyle Butterfield, but don't we have to find a buyer for what we collect is our biggest problem, or help me with that?
Your Honor, we collect all recyclables and then we deposit them to Fremont County Solid Waste. Fremont County Solid Waste then takes it to market. I'd be very happy to work with you to go through any questions regarding routes, commercial versus residential. We'd be happy to meet with you at any time, but we don't take on the responsibility to go to market. That is Fremont County Solid Waste. We just collect and dispose to them.
So would we do that with our own recycling vehicle, maybe at one time, just pick up the commercial stops? Do we have a commercial route put together?
Your Honor, we have a curbside route that we run through, and depending on the volume and basically what the commercial property has, we may or may not be able to accommodate it. I just need a little bit more detail, and I think the best way to handle it was just to sit down together and talk about the program and talk about his needs and see what solutions there are.
Super.
So looking at that, I've talked to other commercial property owners, and I know there's probably more that would step forward with that. I just need clarification, at least for me knowing with our business that we do, but also to convey to other people, obviously they're not here, but kind of as a liaison of trying to see where this direction may go. It's the undertow of saying that it is or isn't. The curbside has worked well for residential, but, I've got lots of questions. Is, a container, would that be something viable, or is that something as a commercial property owner that we have to provide? Knowing that we've got someone actually picking this stuff up, the volume that we're talking about is full trash can containers, the commercial ones that are very large, so having someone manually trying to unload that is a concern of mine too. I guess trying to get with you.
Could we get a phone number for you, and I'll have Kyle get back in touch with you and get that set up, and
Yep, sounds very good.
we'll try to accommodate you.
Okay, sounds good.
Is there anybody else that would like to address the council? If you do, we're going to take you out in the back hall.
Yeah,
Thank you.
right. I just have one question on that. Do we have resources, or Tony, maybe you can answer that, for staff and stuff to include commercial citywide to do that?
Your Honor, we would have to look into the scope of what would actually be proposed, what would be collected. There's a number of, I couldn't tell you off cuff exactly if we'd have the resources handy. We'd probably have to, if we added routes or the like, we'd have to look at how those could fit in, as well as determining whether or not to expand that service provision, and that would be more of a cost benefit.
And does it cost us to take more over to the landfill, or for where they take it to market? Or do they take whatever we give them? It doesn't cost us anything?
Your Honor, they will take certain items. However, the most of your cost would come if you had to add personnel or equipment costs or the like. That's where your big, your savings, of course, comes in what you don't send over the scale.
And have we ever done it historically, done commercial recycling?
Your Honor, Councilwoman, I'm not absolutely sure. I don't believe we've done it in the time that I've been here, but we can look into as part of the question
Okay.
what our history was with that, so we could give you better information.
I think we'd have to get an idea of the size of containers, and we may have to switch to a different trash pickup system or something.
Well, just so we make it where everybody knows what the rules are, I guess.
Recycling is a really tough business because lots of times we pick up stuff that we can't find a buyer for. And then Fremont County Solid Waste is stuck with those, and then they eventually go back into the waste stream.
Okay.
We'll have to research that a little better. We're now at item 9 on the agenda. Consideration of EDGE agreement with the Riverton Medical District. City Administrator's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. You have provided before you the proposed agreement between Riverton Medical District and the city of Riverton with regard to EDGE funding that was approved at the first meeting in June. We apologize for the delay. We wanted it to have it to you at the first in July, but I did ask to take a little bit more time with it. With that, the agreement that before you provides that the 70% of the half cent that is collected is the monies that we're talking about, not the entirety. With regard to the funding that is provided within the contract, it would be a maximum of $880,000 as directed by council, or 73.33% of a 2-year estimate, which at $600,000 for those monies distributed between the allowable time frame when we're collecting all the way up to when this council is no longer seated. If the same individuals on the next council or whoever is seated, they can consider future funding or the like. If additional monies are collected during the time period up to that point, those can be considered for distribution at council's discretion. So when we were putting this together, what we wanted to make sure is we understood what we could do for awarding but not distributing ahead of the time is we stay below 100% of the total distribution so we do not over allocate. Secondly, it's for the time frame of the sitting council, and thirdly, it's for the total amount not to exceed. Again, that amount can be modified up or with this council if we have additional collections. The last month was pretty good, so that may be a conversation that you have. But in order to solidify that, we've provided the existing agreement for you. The agreement has been forwarded to RMD, and I did receive that they were okay with it with one exception. We will change the signature line items to allow for, instead of secretary, it'll be treasurer. So that's a minor change, but we wanted you to know that it would happen. And with that, Your Honor, we'd be happy to answer any questions with regard to it, and we have already provided the letter that was needed by RMD at that previously, and we tried to make this mirror that as best we could.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the use of the Economic Development Tax Fund Agreement to the Riverton Medical District.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Larson has a motion and Councilwoman Cox has a second. Further discussion?
Your Honor.
Yes.
Your Honor, could you have Tony explain what he meant by the previous month was better than we had anticipated and yada, yada, yada?
Sure. Tony, could you do that?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilman, when we assumed about a $600,000 estimate, that was within your budget. So that would be what we figured the collection over the next year would be. Based on what we had collected in the 1%, we figure out exactly, I've shown you that spreadsheet a couple times. We figure out what the 1% would collect on average in the months in that particular month, and then we essentially divide it by that number in order to figure out what that, if it stayed on track and made 8.1%, which was, I believe, the number, what would actually be collected in that year. That number is in excess of $600,000. And as such, we may come in above that. We are using the 1% collection monies as opposed to our regular sales tax numbers because they're collected and they're distributed the same rate, only in half. So those are supposed to match up. So we believe that that data will allow us to actually extrapolate as best we possibly can on what we have. As we get more months, we'll have a better idea because then we can figure the total percentage collected in the first quarter and apply it against that percentage, and that number starts taking shape a little better. 1 month may say you're high, 1 month may say you're low, but right now it looks like we're a little better than we are.
Good, okay.
Or plan to be, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Consideration of ordinance number 21-009, second reading, light manufacturing, commercial zoning property. Would the city clerk please read ordinance number 21-009 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Proposed ordinance number 21-009 on second reading, an ordinance amending Title 17 zoning to revise Chapter 17.08 definitions, Section 17.08.010 definitions, and Chapter 17.56 Commercial District C1, Section 17.56.040 use regulations of the Riverton Municipal Code, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 21-009 on second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Carl, was that you? Councilwoman Borders has the motion, and Dean, do you have the second? And Councilman Paranto has the second. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Bid award, Pershing Chip Seal Project, Public Works Director's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is the last 1% project that'll be going this year, and it is a chip seal project. Last fall, as we were beginning our project planning with the 1% Committee, or the Fix Our Roads Citizen Committee, staff presented the importance of keeping our good roads good before they fail to a point where investment is so high. In your packet, you see examples of the pavement condition curve and the importance of investing prior to the degradation of roads to a point that you can't really save them. The 1% Committee agreed that it was important to perform pavement preservation projects. Therefore, on November 9th, 2020, the committee approved a motion to prioritize up to $200,000 of 1% funds towards pavement preservation projects in 2021. As staff began working on locations and candidates for pavement preservation, West Pershing was selected as a good candidate. Many of you remember West Pershing was reconstructed in 2003. This was part of an urban systems project. It has not received any pavement preservation application outside of chip sealing and pothole patching since that time. Therefore, it is due for a project, and we'd like to take care of that road before it degrades to a complete reconstruction scenario. In 2019, this area of West Pershing recorded a traffic count of 2,871. Staff prepared specifications and bid documents for the project. Request for proposals was advertised 3 times in the Ranger. One contractor attended an optional pre-bid meeting, and 2 bids were received and publicly opened at 10 a.m. on July 15th. Following results: Dave's Asphalt Company in the amount of $170,154.25. 71 Construction in the amount of $82,281.00. Staff has reviewed the bid submittals and the proposals to ensure they were responsive to specifications, which they both were. Staff therefore recommends that the 2021 Pershing Chip Seal Project be awarded to 71 Construction in the amount of $82,281. As referenced earlier, this project will be paid for from the 1% account. After subtracting existing obligations, that fund currently has a balance of $1,058,438. If this project is awarded as proposed, the balance of that account would drop to $976,157. The city's estimate for this project was $143,000. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Kyle. That car count, is that a per day count? Or,
Your Honor, that is per day.
thank you. 2,871, is that correct?
Yes, and that count is from West Pershing, west of Broadway, up Pershing. So between,
8th Street.
yes, that was a long way of saying between Broadway and 8th.
Okay. It still worked.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's a lot of cars. The chair would entertain a motion to award the 2021 Pershing Chip Seal Project to 71 Construction, Inc. in the amount of $82,281.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bailey has the motion. Councilwoman Cox has a second. Any discussion?
I have a question, sir. Kyle, why is there such a disparity between all three figures? The city's estimate, 71 construction, and more than double for Dave's asphalt.
Your Honor, there's no real way to answer that question without speculating. What I can say towards the estimate the city prepared, I was the one that prepared that, and I based it off of our recent bid award for North 16th. That project includes a double chip seal. Therefore, I took the bids that we had received at that time and averaged them and used that for my estimate for the chip seal and also the fog seal. The project has three line items, in essence. It's a 3/8 chip seal, a fog seal, and then pavement markings. The chip seal and the fog seal are paid at a square yard rate. The pavement marking is a lump sum rate, meaning they will remove existing pavement markings and put back pavement markings at just a lump sum. To speculate as to why 71 construction bid the way they did and Dave's Asphalt bid the way they did, that depends on their workload. It depends on their availability of whatever resources they're using. So I would only be speculating at that point. What I can say is they both were responsive to the bid specifications.
Great, thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing nobody else, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Public hearing for ordinance numbers 21-011, 21-012, 21-013, revision of the Riverton Municipal Code Title VI, Animals. Chief of Police report, please.
Your Honor, Council, thank you very much. As much as I love talking to you guys, I'm going to turn it over to Shannon Sanderson. She's our Animal Control Officer. She has worked very, very hard at this, so she can explain it to you much better than I can, so I'm going to turn it over to her.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Shannon.
Your Honor, Council, one of my goals when I took this position a little over a year ago was to help make the city of Riverton a safer place for the citizens and animals alike. Since then, I have been involved in or witness to some incidences that have been a bit disturbing and frustrating in the sense that I felt limited in being able to fully help in an appropriate and timely manner. By amending and adding to some of our current animal ordinances, I feel this will help in more clarity made public to the community and pet owners to provide for a safer environment. It is sad when the citizens of Riverton feel unsafe taking a walk with their pets or children because of ongoing issues with vicious, dangerous, or aggressive dogs running at large. In some of these cases, they are the same dogs, instance after instance, with the owners not being held accountable or stiffer consequences put in place for repeat offenders. We have a beautiful river walk and bike path that are not being utilized because of this, with many older citizens simply not wanting to go out. I feel this is unacceptable merely because people are not responsible pet owners. As it stands now, a vicious citation can only be issued for a dog attacking, menacing, or biting a human being. This proposed amendment will also include domestic animal or livestock, which I have unfortunately been witness to in my short time as animal control officer. Pet owners that are aware that their dog has the tendency to be aggressive, vicious, or dangerous have got to take the extra time to build the appropriate structure, keep their dog restrained while in public, and be vigilant on keeping vaccinations and city license current. By establishing the proposed public safety measures ordinance, these factors can be enforced and appropriate action taken if not. By amending vicious and dangerous dogs to marking a dog with a microchip and registering it with PAWS will help to keep track of the duly noted animal. Probably the most appropriate ordinance that I am asking to put forth is the reckless animal owner. By adding this, I am hoping to establish running at large, cruelty, neglect, nuisance, vicious animal, public safety measures, and continuous of dangerous, aggressive, and vicious animal, a very serious violation that can and will incur strict consequences if not adhered to by the pet owner. By adding the dangerous and aggressive definition, I am wanting to make it clear and public knowledge that an animal can be deemed as such without actually biting someone with the hopes of avoiding actual contact. Cruelty to animals is amended to add abandonment, protection from weather, and failing to provide adequate medical care when needed. by amending the duty of the animal control officer to adding, in the case of animal cruelty, the animal control officer is authorized to enter upon private property and impound the animal or animals in the event that the animal's condition places it in danger of immediate death. This would save time in the instance of having to get a search warrant and enable animal control to speed up the process of getting care to the animals as soon as possible. There are many forms of neglect, and I have ran across quite a few since taking this job. I feel by establishing this ordinance and again making public a more broad spectrum of the term that pets will be provided with a more comfortable and happy life, and pet owners again held accountable to make sure this is done. To end, I have the privilege of working with very supportive people. The chief, the captain, my coworkers, Gina and the staff at PAWS, the mayor and city council, Amy and the staff at Stock Dock, and many others. I believe we are all on the same page to make this a safer and happier community, and by working together, I believe this can be accomplished. So with that in mind, I'm happy to answer any questions or concerns on this.
Thank you, Shannon. A public hearing for ordinances number 21-011, 21-012, and 21-013, revision to the, I read that, didn't I? We're past that. The chair would entertain a motion to open a public hearing on ordinance 21-001, 21-002, and 21-03.
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Borders has a motion. Councilman Bailey has a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. I declare the public hearing is open. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statute and other applicable laws. I would ask those individuals wishing to address the council to approach the podium and identify yourself for the record.
I'm still Julie Buller, and I didn't know that she was talking about this, but here, I'm out on the rec pass all the time, and I dread the time that I have to wait for the dog to bite me before anything is done. I reached out to Shannon for both animal cruelty and a dog coming at me, and she was over there right away and took care of it, and we've got it all over town with the dogs running wild. So Shannon, thank you for bringing this forward and everything you're doing. So I support it.
Thank you.
Mary Ellen Christensen,
Mary-
and I would just like to say ditto. Shannon is doing a great job. She has helped me in a instance and was very prompt. It was a dangerous situation, and she took care of it immediately. And I just think these ordinances need to go through. I think everybody needs to be a better pet owner. We need to be responsible for them. So it's, I love dogs and cats and whatever, and we just need to take care of them. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. Mary Ellen and I were on council a few years ago. It's nice to see her again.
I'm Gina Gladman, and manager of PAWS, but this is on a personal. I lived on a street where down the block from us is a rental property, and there was a woman that moved in that had some vicious dogs that I had dealt with Becky Weber. They lived in the county at that time, and one of her dogs viciously attacked one of her own family members. And that dog was euthanized, but she had some other vicious dogs, and she would not keep them on her property. And I was afraid for my child. And we have neighborhood kids that ride their bikes, they run, and our neighborhood's considered pretty safe. And I literally had to tell my neighbor to keep a gun on him, because I said, if those dogs get loose, they will attack your children. And so I was very glad that they moved. And they later did attack a gentleman up on Park Street. So making owners be responsible for their pets and keeping track of those that have aggressive animals, I think is a very good thing, because if you don't make them responsible, they just keep getting them, and it's a scary situation when you're afraid not only for yourself but for your children. So I would thank Shannon for her hard work on this, and I'm just very pleased with what she's come up with.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to speak? There being no others to speak, the chair would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bailey has the motion. Councilwoman Borders has a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Consideration of ordinance number 21-011, cruelty to animals, first reading. Would the city clerk please read ordinance number 21-011 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Proposed ordinance number 21-011 on first reading. An ordinance amending Title VI Animals to revise Chapter 6.04 Animals Generally, amending Section 6.04.005 Definitions and 6.04.050 Cruelty to Animals Generally of the Riverton Municipal Code and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 21-011 on first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Borders has the motion. Councilman Bailey has the second. Further discussion?
Your Honor.
Dean?
Shannon, thank you for your work. We appreciate that. And I really appreciate the intent of the ordinances. I think it's really important that we are responsible pet owners. Not that long ago, my wife was actually bitten, and fortunately, the dog had its shots and so forth, and everything turned out okay. But there are some questions in the ordinance as it's written that I would be curious to have answered. One of those is under aggressive animal. The item A makes a lot of sense when an animal's not on the owner of the animal's property. But when I read item B, it says any animal that has chased, approached, or otherwise interacted with a human being, domestic animal, livestock in an intimidating or aggressive animal, and I don't need to read the whole thing, but that actually makes that animal an aggressive animal. There are a lot of animals that are fenced. I have this little tiny animal, and she'll run to the fence and she'll bark at passers-by, but she's very docile. So I think that there's a difference between that, and that can be seen by a small child as aggressive or someone who doesn't appreciate dogs. That's a very aggressive move. She's running to the fence to protect her territory. And honestly, I want her to bark. I want her to let me know when somebody's around. So to that end, I think that we should consider changing the verbiage there to include when it's not on an owner's property or fenced in. And the reason that that's of concern to me is as we kind of progress through to the second part of that, where we look at vicious animal and the definitions. I really like the previous verbiage, but the verbiage was amended to include any animals which has attacked a human being resulting in injury or death, or B, any animal which has attacked a domestic animal, livestock in a manner. I agree with both of those. The one that I have a little bit of problem with is C, where it says an animal's conduct is that of an aggressive animal, which we just defined on the first side of this page, could be any dog running to a fence. And now we're going to consider that dog a vicious animal based on just the words that we're using. So we might need to look at that because that pretty much likens almost all animals to be vicious animals, but I don't think that's the intent of what we mean, but that's the intent of how it's being read. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think my biggest concern is I want to get to the viciousness before it is actually a vicious incident. And by that, and case by case scenario, people know, I mean, we're all smart enough to know when a dog is running alongside the fence. When a dog is coming at you aggressively or dangerously, it's pretty, I mean, I've had dogs all my life. You know, you can tell when that dog is vicious or aggressive.
I agree.
I mean, like, you're right, your dog in your yard, that's their territory, totally get it. I'm just trying to be able to pass that meaning that the dog has the capability of being vicious by just showing these manners.
Right.
Just before the incident happens, I want to cure it, before the actual bite happens. So totally get what you're, and I'm open to anything that is more explainable or, you know, where the public can definitely know what we're talking about.
I agree with you, and I think that a lot of us can use that common sense piece.
And that's just,
Determining that.
it enters into a lot of comments.
But when you're writing an ordinance, I don't think common sense is read between the words, so the words do matter. So to that end, and
Sure.
continue, because, well,
Yeah.
sorry, on page 20, section 1, we talk about vicious dogs. It really should include vicious animals under vicious and dangerous dogs. That, you know, to keep in line with the ordinance the way it's written, we should look at vicious animals because there are other animals that can be vicious other than just dogs.
Exactly. Yeah, I probably had more dogs, but you're exactly right.
And then I did receive a few calls on people on this section specifically because it talks about an order that a police officer forthwith can cause such dog to be killed, and for that purpose, any officer charged with such a duty shall have the right to enter upon any premise within the city, and that's really with no warrant and no due process at that point. So that was concerning. And I'm not sure how we can discuss that, but I get your point and your intent, but when you're writing that into an ordinance, and not to break these words apart and make a big deal about them, but I think it is important that we look at the verbiage in this first reading, so we might be able to wordsmith that a little bit better. And by that, I mean, if you look further down, you have a paragraph that says that animal protection officers and other law enforcement may undertake investigatory steps and actions appropriate under the circumstances, and this one says to protect the life, but I think that verbiage is good and useful when you're looking at making these motions to just enter someone's premise and kill their dog, because that's how it reads.
Your Honor, so if Mr. Pronto has an animal and it goes out and bites somebody, and then he allows the animal to get back into his house, then we have no recourse to enter the home and get the animal. But that's what we're trying to address, is that it's like the incident that we just had, where we had to enter the home. The family did not want us there. We took the dogs and the cats and handed them over to PAWS, and I felt like we were justified in doing that because of the circumstances. So that's what we're trying to curtail, is that. So if you're an animal owner and your dog goes out and bites 5 or 6 people, but then it can make it back to your house, into your house, then we have no recourse, and that's the problem.
Thank you very much. You know, I'm asking the questions not just for me, but for our constituents as well, and I think the discussion piece is important.
Sure.
So, Chief, does that mean that, would you then be forced to get a search warrant for that animal? If you knew that animal resided at that home, you would have to then wait, get a search warrant, go through the process, then approach the house?
Yes, that is correct.
So it slows you down?
It does.
Okay. Thank you. Councilman Bailey.
Your Honor, again, I had a little concern with the same thing that Dean was talking about. And I understand common sense says, okay, you're walking by my yard and my dog growls at you. That's not necessarily aggressive, but that's not how that's worded.
Right.
It basically says, if my dog growls at you, that means it's a dangerous animal and the police can kill my dog. If you read it just the way it says,
Right.
and I don't think that's what we're trying to do. I think we're trying to get rid of animals that are aggressive, and I would assume you mean they bit somebody off of their property and went back on their property? Is that what you're talking about? Or are we talking the dog bit them on the owner's property? I guess,
Well, and
because there is sort of a difference.
well, yeah, most definitely. And I guess until, like, again, case by case scenario, until you're, I just don't know how to answer that until, because every case is different.
Right. And that's the
You know
trick.
what I
Is I
mean?
think we need to make sure we're making the words fit what we need, and I'm all for that, but if my dog's in my own yard, my dog's passed away now, so it doesn't really count, but, you know, and if somebody's creeping around in my yard in the middle of the night and my dog bites them, good for him.
And I think we're all on the same
Okay,
page there.
but if my dog's out running around the neighborhood, just biting people randomly, that's a whole different story. And so I think,
And I've just been faced with more instances with the dog not biting somebody in their yard. It's been outside.
right.
So that's, yeah.
And so I don't know if we need to clarify that piece a little bit, because if they're sort of protecting their own territory, that's a different scenario than out running around the neighborhood chasing kids and biting them or whatever. But
And if I were to be called to that incidents, I don't think I would cite with that being said, I wouldn't cite the owner for a vicious or an aggressive or dangerous dog, because he has every right to bite somebody that's on their property. I mean, so I'm not going to cite them for that.
Yeah.
Yes, Kristen.
I also, like Julie, walk around town. 2 days ago, when I was walking from Sunset Park to the college, I had 4 different dogs come after me. And when you say common sense, people don't have common sense. 2 dogs came across the park, their hair up, growling, barking, circling me. I stopped. And they're like, oh, we're really sorry, but they're nice. I'm like, that's not nice. I'm not gonna, I mean, and.
So those dogs right there would be deemed dangerous or,
But their owners are like, oh, they're nice, they would never hurt you, but I don't know that.
you don't know how many times I ran across that.
And I can't walk my dog anymore because he's been attacked so many times.
That's just not acceptable.
They come across and attack him. I can't, and now he's scared, so if he sees another dog, he's aggressive because it's all over town. You can't.
Very traumatizing.
We have to take this very serious, and we do need to change some of the verbiage somehow to take it serious, but there isn't common sense. People love their dogs like their kids, and they'll never hurt a flea. Well, they would hurt me, or they would hurt my dog, and
So that's where I want to be able to have the, I guess, the power to, because of course they're going to stand up for their dogs. I run across it all the time. My dog's not vicious. No, I have somebody telling me that they came at her aggressively, so I am going to, it's going to be put in place where you have to take responsibility for this.
But people don't want you going on their private property. I mean, we need to word it in a way where it's going to be, there has to be a process where it's not just random.
Exactly.
I mean, it needs to be worded, like I said, I agree, some of it we may need to go back and look at, but it does need to be, it is serious, and it would help a lot of people that have the issues.
Anyone else?
Heard a fly like heck. But the thing that is most irritating is that I live right next to Aspen School District, and people walk their dogs off the leash constantly. And they come by and go da-da-da-da-da next to my Mastiff dog. So my Mastiff dog is not an aggressive dog, except when it's called names and fat and stuff like that by the other dogs, and it kind of takes it. So what we're saying here is, as long as the dog's in its own property, a dog is not a human being. It protects its property. And Pyrenees kill wolves that try and kill sheep. So the dog is there to do a certain job. And the way this reads, it reads as if a dog barks, if a dog is acting as a dog, it's an aggressive animal. So I think we need to table this and work on it for a little bit of clarity. And I understand about having to go get a warrant and going in and getting Fido, and Fido's part of the family. I understand all of that. But search and seizure without a warrant is not the famous thing that it should be. So I think we need to table this and work on it a little bit.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I just kind of want to second what everyone else has said. And to me, I feel like the language needs to be sharpened so it takes the subjectivity out of it. So it's clear, it's cut and dried exactly what is meant and what you can enforce and what you can't enforce. So I would like to just see the language sharpened up some.
Gotcha. Sure.
Shannon? Mike, did you have?
I got one more question for Eric. So I understand an animal doesn't have the same rights as a human being does, but if I run out of my yard and punch somebody in the nose in the street and then I run back in my house, does the police have the ability to come and get me out of my house?
No, we'd have to get a warrant.
Okay.
Probable cause.
Even if the guy that I punched said he went in that door right there?
Yes.
Yep.
If an officer sees you go in your house and he's in fresh pursuit, he can follow you in.
Okay.
But if we get there 10 minutes later, we have to get a warrant.
Okay.
So I think you can see that Lindsay, do you have a dog?
Yes.
I can see that we're all dog lovers. I was at Arby's one night and who was it? A really nice guy was holding your dog.
Oh, Mr. Mason.
Yeah, and I said, I know whose dog that is, and so we called Lindsay, and she came and got her dog. And so I think we all have a really keen sense of what we're talking about here, but I think Shannon's right, and I think we need to get this where the police can operate. Rick's seen this, hasn't he, our attorney? Has he seen this verbiage, Tony?
Your Honor, I believe he has, but I can double check on that. I think when it was prepared, he was part of that, but we can double check on that.
Can we move this with thought that language would be cleaned up in the second, third reading? Or should we table it?
Your Honor, I defer to Kristen, but I think what you can do is pass it with direction to propose with staff to propose amended language.
To clear that.
Yeah, on the items that you have denoted. I believe we can do that.
Kristen, can we do that?
Your Honor, yes, absolutely. So for my clarity on 21-011, I have an amendment to B of the aggressive animal language to maybe include it to be a contained animal. And then letter C of vicious animal needs to be amended as well. Are there any other amendments within 21-011 that we need to consider for second reading?
Your Honor, I just wondered, maybe I missed it. Should we add what the process is, like they're just cited at the first offense? If it's just a dog getting out of the yard, like on the canal, running out of the yard aggressively towards people walking, are they cited first for that?
What I try and do, just because I kind of want to, everything's different, but I just kind of want to be the person that I will warn them first and say, I'm going to give you a warning, and let them know the consequences of what's going to happen if it happens again.
And should that be listed in here so that it's not, you're going to kill my dog if they get out of the yard type of deal? I mean, just maybe add the steps of the process.
I would take exception to that because I think that Shannon has to be on site and have that jurisdiction to say, you are listening to me, and I will warn you if somebody isn't listening to her and just being belligerent and obnoxious, they come back and read the ordinance that I was supposed to be warned once. It's hard to write belligerent and obnoxious into a ordinance, but I think we could go through there, and I think I would ask that everyone in council that has word problems with that, if you would please get those changes to Shannon, and she could run them past Rick, or should they go to you, Kristen? You want them first?
Either one of us works.
So let's do it better than that. Let's give it to Kristen, and then you can specifically tell Kristen what your thought process is on it. If we don't get it cleaned up to where you like it, we can kill it on second or third, but we speed up the process, right?
Yep.
And I think that's what we need to do, is get the process speeded up. And so that would be, I have to ask for that motion, so, and we're ways away from that. I'm on 11, and so I have the motion to discussion. Do we have verbiage changes on 11, Kristen? You have those on 21-011?
Yes, those are the two definition changes.
Okay, so I would ask for a vote on that at this time with the idea that we're going to change those on second reading.
Your Honor, do we need to change the motion to reflect the changes?
I would think so. So Carla's got the motion and Mike's got the second. Are you guys amendable to the process, or do you want to table it?
I'm fine with the changes.
Okay, so both of they are fine with it. And I think it needs to be strongly stated that if you don't like it on second or third, we kill it and we bring it back. But I think if it's just wordsmithing, let's get the wordsmithing right, and we get the people protected as soon as we can, okay? And I don't really want to handcuff the officer, whoever's doing it. I think that's, he's there, he's got to make that decision if you're being responsive to what I'm telling you, or if you're just blowing me off. I think that he has to have that opportunity to make that judgment. So with that said, and with that amendment, both the motion and the second amendable to it, I would ask those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Consideration of ordinance number 21-012, animal control, and on first reading. Would the city clerk please read ordinance number 21-012 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Proposed ordinance number 21-012 on first reading. An ordinance amending Title VI Animals to revise Chapter 6.08 Dogs and Cats, amending Section 6.08.040 Vicious and Dangerous Dogs, and 6.08.0130 Duty of Animal Control Officer of the Riverton Municipal Code, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. I would make one other statement as we're going through here. I thought I asked, and I thought I heard that Rick had reviewed these. Has he or has he not?
Your Honor, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I can't guarantee that, but we will have that done again.
Okay. I would like to have that done on all three ordinances if we could. The chair would entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 21-012 on first reading.
Your Honor, I make that motion with the stipulation that it becomes amended based on discussion.
Second.
Councilman Paronto has the motion with the amendment that we clean the language up. Councilman Bailey has the motion, has the second. Further discussion?
Your Honor, on this ordinance, the verbiage I think that needs to be addressed is the lack of a warrant and no due process in the, under Section 1A, and that we also change it from vicious dog to vicious animal. And I think I heard from several people that killed is probably a very negative word. We use euthanized down below, but either way, the animal can be disposed of. But I think that we should clean the language to eliminate the, and I'm not sure what the wordage will be, but to enter upon any premise within the city limits is probably overreach.
Okay. So, once again, are we changing the document further than we can do with an amendment, Kristen?
No.
No, Your Honor.
Okay. So, we have that motion, and thank you for the verbiage that you'd like changed. Kristen, did you get all of his changes?
I believe so.
I have one other little typo. Dogs don't really have registration tax, although it is a tax. It's more of a tag, I think.
Tag.
We'll put a G on it. Anybody else have verbiage on that ordinance that they'd like changed? I do appreciate this. It seems a little bit odorous, but at least we're proving that we're reading what we're passing.
One question.
Please.
How do you do it now when it says authorized to enter upon private property? Like, what do you do now? Like, are you saying like go into someone's house, their yard? I mean, how does that happen when there's cruelty to an animal? I mean, how?
Well,
mean,
we go and, ask if we can look at the animal. upon, just like the instance down at the trailer park with when we seized the cats and dogs, we had 2 or 3 people calling that had been in the trailer and noticed it, and they called and made a complaint about it and said these need to be checked out. So we go to the property owner and, you know, say, listen, I've got reason to believe there's some cruelty going on here. I'm here to check on the animals.
And what do you do if they say, no, you can't come in my house and look at
I haven't been faced with that yet.
so that?
Yeah, those people let us in. Yeah.
So I can tell you, I've been here 21 years and I've never had that happen.
They've never said no.
And I think my experience with it, when we did this last one, it was a lot of work between Shannon and the court to try to get the verbiage correctly for the warrant.
So that's common to say you can enter in private property and impound an animal, okay.
And I can't remember the numbers, but they were excessive. It was many dogs and many cats, correct?
23 cats and 6 dogs.
And so, you know, we do need some teeth in these to help this move. It's just not somebody's dog that they have a single dog. There's some real problems out there. So if you do come across other verbiage that you're not comfortable with, would you please get it to Kristen?
Next question. Eric, on average, how long does it take to get a warrant for a situation like this?
Well, that took 3 days. Yeah, so we were a week in getting in there to get the animals that were in dire need of medical. That's what the whole duty of animal control officer, amending that, that's what I was wanting to be able to bypass because they were in horrible shape. Horrible shape.
If that went through and you were able to gain access to a residence under this pretense, and you go in and you see that there's some illegal activity going on, can that be used against that individual?
Illegal activity, like in what?
Say they have a
Growing
kilo of pots. sitting
Oh, outside
there.
of the,
Yeah, outside of what you're there for, and you walk in to take care of this animal, can that be used against them because you see a crime?
So here's what I would tell you, here's the practical application.
I don't have a kilo of anything.
No, I know.
I'm going to point that out. I'm just asking the question.
What we would do is we would stop everything we were doing at that point and go get a search warrant for the house. Literally, the second that we saw that, that's exactly what would happen.
But the pretense for entry was something different.
Right.
Had that not occurred, you wouldn't have gained entry. So is that constitutional?
So that's why we'd get the search warrant.
But you've already gained entry.
Right, but that's why we'd get the search warrant for the illegal substance, so that everything after that point would be through the court.
And so let's not get too far in the weeds. If Chief says he's never had somebody deny access when he's been approached in 23 years, how many years? 21? We're probably going down the right path. And if the chief does get in there and decide that there's an additional charge, that's going to fall back. And that a felony warrant will move a lot faster than this vicious dog or dog in danger, so.
Well, and the thing is we do felony warrants for drugs 10 times a week, where this is the very first animal search warrant that we've ever done. So I can tell you that these kind of incidences, they just don't happen a lot. You know what I mean? So for us to get a search warrant to enter a house for animals, it was literally the first time in 21 years that we've ever done that.
I still think we have to be constitutionally aware.
I agree.
And make sure that we're following that.
I agree, and I think it ought to go past Rick. We ought to make sure that it cuts the mustard, and if it's not there, you guys don't like it, we kill it.
Yeah.
Your Honor.
I just have a little dog I want to mention. Yes.
This verbiage was actually prepared by Rick and sent for inclusion. Can I ask for clarification from Mr. Pronto on section 1A? So that verbiage is the verbiage that is currently in our code. It's black and not in italics, that's currently in there. And it does still say, upon conviction of violation of this section, the court may order any police officer to forthwith cause such dog to be killed, and for that purpose, any officer charged with such duty shall have the right to enter upon any premises within the city. They still have to go through the court in order to do that. Is there, I mean, other than the killed, the harsh language, is there any other amendment that you would like to see in that?
I think it would serve our purpose to go to euthanized instead of kill if we can make that verbiage change. I think it's just a politer statement.
But there still is a due process, I guess, as far as a vicious dog, if they're going to go in and obtain that animal, it would have to be through the court to do that.
Okay. I didn't see that was struck out. Is that the section 68110?
No, I'm on,
608.
yeah, 608-040-21-012.
Okay. Yep, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Your Honor, may I say something?
Yes, Chief?
So just so everyone knows, that everything in black is the already current city ordinance. The red is the new,
Right.
what we're
Addition.
trying to, so the black's been in there for years.
Doesn't mean that you like it, and we can surely
But if you're
take a shot at
changing an
changing
ordinance.
it while we're right here.
Yeah, that's the time we could change it.
That's why we should be,
Right.
trying to see if we can fix it where people are comfortable. Are there any, and if anybody has any additions to that, Kristen, you would accept their,
I was trying to,
we have to have a deadline for those turned in. We can't just do it up to the next meeting, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
If we're gonna get Rick to look at it and Shannon to agree with it, that makes sense. Let's try to get them in the next day or two. And then they can run it back through the next process. Okay? So with all that said, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Say nay. Motion passes. Consideration of ordinance number 21-013, animal ownership, first reading. Would the city clerk please read ordinance number 21-013 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Proposed ordinance number 21-013 on first reading. An ordinance amending Title VI Animals to revise Chapter 6.08 Dogs and Cats, establishing Section 6.08.040C, vaccination and rabies control animal bites, 6.08.050 Public safety measures, 6.08.035 Reckless animal owner, 6.08.055 Continuation of dangerous or vicious animal declaration, and 6.08.065 Neglect of the Riverton Municipal Code, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 21-013 on first reading.
So moved.
second.
Is that you, Carla?
Yes, sir.
Councilwoman Borders has the motion and Councilwoman Cox has the second. Do we have verbiage change here that anyone would like to see?
I was fine with that. Thank you.
We're good there. All right. Left side, you good? Okay.
Your Honor.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Thank you for the cooperation there. I appreciate it. Item 16, 307 Chariot Cutter Race Presentation, Public Works Director's Report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Tonight, we have the opportunity to hear from a community group who has interest of performing community activities. Many of you remember in the past that the chariot races were a regular event in our community. They previously were able to utilize space that's leased to the dirt racing group, I forget the name of them, just off of Paradise Valley Road. Tonight, we have representatives from the chariot race group, and I think our goal is to hear what they're proposing. I believe they're looking at multiple locations before they get too far down the road. We'd like to make sure the council is aware of what they do and what they may propose as far as leasing city ground. We're not asking for an action tonight. If this is something the council would like to pursue, and if this group would like to pursue using public ground, we can at a later date prepare a lease agreement for them. that would very much mirror what the dirt bike group people have. I got to remember their name. This is bad. So with
Motocross group?
Motocross group. You all know what I'm talking about. So with that wonderful intro, we do have Bridget here with us, and Jerry Bornhoff is here as well. And they'd like to just let you know about their group, what they do, and what they foresee in the future for activities in Riverton.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bridget Kugler, and I'm here to represent the 307 Chariot Racing Organization. We are a nonprofit organization, and we are registered with the state of Wyoming. I don't know if you know, but chariot racing is one of the oldest sports in Fremont County, and actually you can say Wyoming. And it started in Jackson Hole, and we would like to continue this sport for our further generation. And to do that, we need land. There is no place here where we can practice. We can't take our horses, we can't say, Kyle would like to have a team and he would like to learn. We have no place to go to teach anybody. It's impossible. Where the track is now is what the motocross, and motorcycles and horses just don't get along. It just doesn't work that way. So, and we have no place to build it up. Like, we have a vision of what we would like to see and build a beautiful Calcutta shack and have vendors out there and have people, but we can't do that there. And then 2015, when I put on the races, was the last race I put on. We had people come in from Utah, South Dakota, Colorado, and we filled up Fremont County. I mean, it was packed. And chariot racers never, ever travel alone. They travel with a group of people because it's a family sport. Everybody works together and everybody goes together. So we actually bring in revenue to Fremont County. And we would like to keep it going. We do have a big vision for it, but before we can even start that, we need to get the land first.
So we do have some surplus land. Is it on the west side of Paradise Valley Road? Is that where we're at?
Your Honor, if it's okay, I'd love to project it on the screen.
We were hoping for popcorn too, but we'll just take a movie if that's all you got. We need to douse some lights.
Your Honor, I think once the bulb warms up, we should be able to see, but we can douse the lights if that's necessary.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary Ellen. Top side push down. There you go. Thank you.
So, Your Honor, I'll just be brief. What I'll do is I'll pull it up in two different views. This is first on the Fremont County map server. This will give you an idea of the location that is potential for this group if they choose to utilize public land, and if the council chooses they'd like to lease that land for this purpose. So to orient yourself, we are on the west end boundary of the city of Riverton. You can see the runway for Central Wyoming Regional Airport. The Fremont County Motocross Association track is here. Mm-hmm. And the land that we have been discussing together with this group as far as staff and the chariot race group is this land here that is northwest of Paradise Valley. So it's just across from where the races previously had been held. But as Bridget has explained, it's not a tenable location, one for size, two for conflicts between animals and motorized vehicles. Right now, I can do a measurement to show you the acreage, but there's plenty of acreage that you can see. When I pull up the Google Earth, there aren't any city utilities near that area, but you'll notice it's just this parcel of land that's within the city boundaries. It's not currently used for anything. It does serve for runway protection, so that's one of the reasons why this land was procured for the city of Riverton, so that there wouldn't be large buildings here that would be in conflict with the approach pattern for the end of runway 1028.
So Bridget, what do we need to do for you to help this move forward?
If you would agree, if we can lease out that land, and then from there we can start establishing a vision for it. We would actually like to do not just a chariot track, but a whole full track, so we can have other events there. There is no place really where we could ride our horses and go and practice. I mean, there's other events that can be done there. It could be held actually as an equestrian area. And we can actually, with that piece of land right there, we can actually bid for World. World is in Ogden, Utah, and they're now having it in Wyoming because of COVID. And so it would be a big event, and it would bring a lot of people into Fremont County.
So would we build a full oval track? Is that what you're suggesting on that ground? And I think Kyle's right. There's plenty of space to do that. So you got a great earth mover with you. So it wouldn't be difficult to get us a drawing or an idea of where that oval could sit and what your future ideas are.
That'd be wonderful. Yes.
And I think, it's just like soccer or baseball or anything in my mind. The more people you bring to Riverton, the more jobs we create, the more economic growth we enjoy. And so my wife's grandfather was well known for chariot racing in Victor in Driggs, Idaho. And so I think it's a really smart idea to get that back involved. And if we can help you chase some grants or anything besides that, we would enter into an MOU, more than likely, which is a memorandum of understanding between us and you of what the city is going to do and what you would do.
Okay.
And so there aren't any utilities out there now, and it would be quite costly for us to run. We stop at the weather station. I think we've just had current conversations about that. We have water that far out, but you would need to incorporate bathroom facilities probably in your master plan, and vendors' locations and those types of things. And so is that ground, Kyle, is that actually city ground?
Your Honor, that's correct. It's within the city boundary, and it's owned by the city of Riverton. And to provide maybe a little bit more background on the lease agreement we currently have with the motocross group, it is $1 a year. So basically, this council at the time of approval considered it a community benefit. Therefore, they did the lease for the amount of $1. However, it did explain in that lease that any improvements were the responsibility of the association, and should the lease ever be vacated, it is the responsibility of the association to return the ground as much as possible to what it was prior to the lease. I know there's a well, I believe, at the motocross location. That's how they receive their water. But a lot of these details, I believe we can work out together if it is the desire of the council to at least move forward. We can prepare some of these items, work with Bridget and her team, and then come back with an agreement for you to consider.
We typically don't allow septics in the city limits, and so we would make an exception probably for septics, and we would have to get that sized correctly for your masses or porta potties or whatever, however you guys want to approach that. But if you'd get us, it wouldn't have to be a greatly detailed item. We might raise the rent to $2 for forever. But, I think we'd love to have you, don't we? Anybody got a problem with what we're doing?
No problem.
Kyle?
What's the size of the track? We didn't discuss that.
Quarter mile?
That's a 1/4 mile, 440 for chariot racing.
So it's nothing more than a high school track.
Right, but if we were to build it up, it would be a complete oval so that we can have a nice outrun then, because a lot of racers come with expensive horses. And we need to turn to the left, and where we're at right now is a dip, and the teams have to go to the right, and they can't do that, especially when they come with good horses.
Okay, thank you.
You're
So, and I think there's a huge amount of space there to be used, and I think it's a great idea economically and all sorts of reasons. But yeah, if you would put a drawing together and bring it back to us, Kyle will work with you on that, and we get an MOU agreement with the two of us, and we'll try to keep it at $1, but we can't promise.
Okay,
We
excellent.
might raise the rates a little bit. But that does sound like something that would be enjoyed by the community, so.
Great, thank you.
Kyle, do we need a motion at this point?
Your Honor, I don't think so. We'll continue to work with the group. I know they're looking at private land versus public, and should they decide to go with this, we can definitely move forward, talk about improvements, talk about access, talk about all those details, but we'll definitely work together. I don't think it requires a motion at this time.
Thanks, Kyle. Thank you. So that cleans up all of our work for this evening. We're down to council committee reports and council members roundtable. So Dean, could you start us off on your side?
Yes, sir. I wasn't able to make the rec board meeting, but I'm hoping Carla was and can report. This afternoon, I took Kevin Kershishnik up on his invitation to have a tour of and discussion of IDEA and the Brunton Building and legacy molding. And he was here earlier, but now he's gone. But I really appreciated the time he took to kind of show me those facilities. And how cool was that? You guys haven't seen legacy molding? That's kind of eye-opening to see the amount of equipment and technology and robotics and everything else that we have in there. Not we, but that they have, the city of Riverton enjoys. And how the Brunton building has been changed from its previous space to its current usage. I really enjoyed that tour, and just learning about IDEA and the various opportunities thereof. So I was going to thank Kevin out loud, but I guess you'll have to watch the video.
Look what you did to the audience.
I know. I start talking, everybody leaves. I'm taking it personally. Go ahead. Thank you, guys.
We are really fortunate to have legacy molding and the Brunton building. The Brunton building is an amazing building, isn't it?
It really is.
And the repurposing of the Brunton building has taken great shape. And so, Tony, help me, the makerspace?
And makerspace is in there. We have Jack, FM, County 10.
I talked to Will, and he said he was fully leased in the office spaces. And so,
Just a neat space. I like the way what they've done with it and how they're using it.
really is.
That's where we have our chamber meetings.
Yeah, cool.
It's really nice.
And if no one
And there's coffee.
if no one knows what that is, the old Brunton front office, and it's a showy office, it's a impressive office to be in. They now rent those out, and so if you need a workspace area and want to move out of your home or something, or from the office that you're at, you can approach them for a space. And I think Will said he was full, but that ebbs and flows. So that is a great tour, and anybody that's on the council that hasn't done that, we could arrange. Tony's got special connections into that group, and so he can get us in.
Your Honor, we'll be happy to get any tours. We'd like to show that. It's a great facility, and it's really well used. And there's accountants up there. There's just a number of different spaces up there, so it's a pretty neat space.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dean. Lindsay.
I haven't attended any meetings since our last meeting, but Pause is working on getting our tickets made up, and then they'll be for sale at the Shelter, the Stock Dog, the Savvy Shopper, and Lander. And so I'll let you know when those are available. And Little League is headed to Rock Springs tomorrow for districts. And then state will be here next week, starting Wednesday, and we'll have 8 teams coming to town for that. So bringing a little business to our restaurants and hotels. And hopefully our team's one of them, so.
Thank you very much for doing that. It's nice, that's a state tournament, right?
Right.
Thanks a bunch. That makes a big difference to our retailers. Anything else?
That's it.
Mike?
Thank you. Again, I was out of town for the Force Committee meeting, but again, Kyle went over that. And again, I think this year they've done a great job in getting some projects going in town and, you know, taking that money and keeping our streets and stuff in good shape. And again, the process will start again this fall in looking at the future needs of what the city is going to be needing. So if anybody has any input, don't be afraid to come to that meeting or talk to any of the Force Committee members and, you know, say, hey, there's an issue down here or down there. And they take all that into account, and we sort of rate those and try to make sure we get as many areas of town, you know, repaired and up to snuff as we can. So it was really nice. Again, it was mentioned earlier, again, the balloon rally was last weekend, and the Happy Days and all of that kind of stuff, and it was great. We had lots and lots of people in town. I think the balloons couldn't fly Friday, but they flew Saturday and Sunday. I got to take my grandson up Sunday, and we had a great ride, and it's a very unique perspective of the town when you're just floating over the top, and it's gorgeous, so it was pretty amazing. You actually see things you didn't realize were there. It's pretty cool. So we had a great time, and lots of people showed up, and again, Megan did an amazing job in putting that all together, so credit to her.
Thanks,
Oh,
All I
Mike.
have. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
I had a list of 4 things I was going to say.
okay.
So if I can oblige, I'd appreciate it. I also wanted to thank the city for reopening Main Street before this weekend. As a business owner on Main Street, hurrah. I feel for the people on the other side of the road, and good luck. But having that open for the 4th of July and the cruise, that was awesome. It's looking really good. And Mike, you mentioned the balloon rally. The balloon glow is something I'd never gone to.
Yeah.
And that was really quite spectacular. Did you make it to the glow afterwards?
The fireworks were awesome.
It was really fantastic, and the amount of work and effort that it takes to stand a balloon up, I mean, it takes some time. So, you know, as an aircraft pilot, I go up, I take the airplane out, I pre-flight, I get in, start it up, and I go, and I can actually go someplace. But as a balloon pilot, boy, you need a crew. There's a crowd up there, and that sucker wants to just fly away. And everybody's holding it down and strapped to the vehicles. And anyway, I just really appreciated everybody's hard work, and everybody seemed to be pretty orderly, and everyone was having fun, and it was just a good time. Thank you.
Thanks, Dean. Carla?
Your Honor, I was not able to attend the rec board meeting the other night, but just due to allergies, and it's not fun. Anyway, they are planning their final budget that's due by the end of this month, and Jody and the gang have just been working their tails off, and I just want to thank them for that. I was able to attend the Community Engagement Committee last night. They're busy planning lots of fun stuff. I think the highlight is that our rec was able to purchase a giant movie screen. It's a blow-up movie screen, and they're planning a start off to school. I believe the school starts the 24th, and the 27th on Friday, they want to have a event at J.C. Park and get all the kids together and have a movie. So that's kind of what's in the works right now. Other than that, the balloon glow was amazing the other night. I didn't even plan on going, and last minute I thought, well, I'll drive up there, and it was so cool. And then we went and watched the fireworks, and I'm not sure I've seen such an awesome display. It was just incredible, and just made me so happy that we have so many people that put so much work into it, and they make it just look seamless. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Kyle?
Attended the solid waste meeting on Monday, and was unclear on what their direction they were talking about, other than they're looking at perpetual care of future waste sites. And Kyle was there. They were talking about an anomaly of wastewater that they had drilled and found in a sample, but it was below detectable levels. And the lady was, well, anyway, the whole intent was that we don't know what the future lies with solid waste, but we want you to be scared as heck. And they couldn't tell you what parts per billion or million or what they were looking at or what it was, what the analysis was. It was a pathetic thing. But the most important thing I want to talk about is how wonderful our airport is. I took a flight from Riverton to Denver to Houston to someplace in Texas, the very bottom. But the nice thing about it is how well just putting your luggage on and picking it up somewhere else is. You know, that is not going through double check-ins at Denver is very nice. And I don't know what the numbers are going to be this month, but I can guarantee you they're going to be better than they were last year at this time. And it would have been nice to have 3 or 4 flights out of here on Saturday and Sunday, because staying in DIA on a hard chair is not my real love. But the flights, the attendance, the punctuality of flying out of Riverton is pretty good. It beats that 2-hour drive to the other city, I can tell you that. Thank you.
Thanks, Kyle. Christie?
We haven't had another chamber meeting since our last meeting, but those of you that were at the Day in the Park, 2 years ago, the chamber had made an agreement and paid for an adventure course to come, and we ended up changing it to be down at the city park instead of the college with the 5K. And the chamber, since it had already been paid for out of different fundings 2 years ago, due to the lateness of registration, decided to make it free to the community and the kids. And I had, Kit Post had to go make copies of waivers twice. We had over 400 people. I didn't count them all, but the pile was really big. They had a blast with that, so it was a fun day.
That's cool.
So thank the chamber for sponsoring that.
And that was Happy Days, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
But the car show was cool this weekend, and the races up at the college too. I mean, we've had a lot of good things going on in our community again.
Is that all? Thank you. Tony?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a couple items. We did receive our letter from Game and Fish on the 56 permit this year. It'll run between August 15th and Halloween. That's the time we have this year. Some of the information in that correspondence is different than last year. We have a couple questions we have to ask. However, moving forward with that program, we will be seeking volunteers again, of course. We will be needing to get landowner permissions and work through that process. Last year, we still managed 11, with 9 of those being donated in a very short period of time. Having a little bit more time and having already developed some of that, we hope to have something better this year and maybe get ahead of the weather a little bit. We have some donated resources with regard to processing the first 10. That's kind of nice because we can make those donations, and we do have to donate, and we do still have to have those tested and the like. We're working through that right now, but we just received it this week. So we'll be looking forward to moving that forward. Attended WHAM this last week, and it was nice to meet again. We were in Cheyenne. The The main thing, we had a number of different courses. The nice thing that I'm taking out of it is we have some phone calls with some additional guidance coming up that WAM is putting together on ARPA funding. There's some items that are put together that we may be able to use a little better in calculating certain things, such as lost revenue. ARPA funding can be used to replace lost revenue and then therefore carries less strings. And then it can be used for projects accordingly, keeping in mind that we didn't budget ARPA funding as far as part of your budget. So we're trying to make sure we can use it properly, and we think that we have some tools there. And keeping in mind that we'll need to bring forward to you anything that we choose to use that on, and then council would authorize that accordingly. That's not authorized in the budget, so it would have to come to you. Your Honor, and to Councilman Larson's question, we had, for employment, just as of the 18th, we had 1,041. That's
Great job.
That's pretty impressive. And compared to the next nearest year was 14, is that right? Was 14 at 943. So 7 years ago, we hit 943, but we're at 1,041 right now. Well, at least because that was the 18th.
It's fantastic.
Awesome. Might crack 2.
Yeah, doing great. Thank you, Kyle.
Your Honor, I have nothing else. Thank you.
Kyle, would you express your appreciation to the airport committee and to staff up there for all that work? They are cramming a lot of folks on planes, so we appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I have quite a few comments, but I'll try to shorten them up. We did have comments. Tony and I sat in on a call from the governor, governor's office, excuse me. It wasn't the governor, but that was very useful. The next day I had the conversation with the planners on that solar farm. They still think it's a possibility and they're going forward with that. And that's just south of Riverton, 640 acres of property. We also had a really productive meeting with the county. You guys know, going through budget, we spent $160,000 incarcerating people out of county. They have taken a look at that and decided it would be nice to have that money in county. I asked the police or the sheriff if he would consider reducing the rate. We were at $75 a night. They lowered it to $55 a night. So it was a useful meeting, and he called back, and Tony's putting the agreement together. We're close on that, aren't we?
Yes, Your Honor. I think we have the final draft at this point.
Thank you. I was able to get to do 2 Legion games a week or so ago, which was a ton of fun for me. Happy Days was incredible for the ambassadors and for everyone that put that on. Parks crews that worked their tails off to make that happen. And so we did some really fun things there. I got to be the pie judge. I was afraid that there was a pie eating contest, and I would have to try to keep up, but there was just 3 pies, and I got to just pick 1, 2, and 3. So it was a lot of fun. We also had the hand printing opportunity on the north wall, and that I thought got maybe a little bit out of control because we did it through the meat of that, and yet they were very pleased with that. And I would like to thank the school teachers that put that on and the students that are looking for activities in Riverton to make Riverton a better place. I really do appreciate their efforts. Tony mentioned that he and I went to, WHAM stands for the Wyoming Association of Municipalities. There's 99 municipalities in the state. There's 98 that are members of WHAM. Rock Springs is the only city out of all the little podunk cities that is not a member of WHAM. And so we get a lot of interaction and a lot of conversations and a lot of good discussions on how to improve and make our town better. And I've got a book on the way that is 13 Ways to Kill Your City, and they give you suggestions on how to not do that. And so it was well worth our time and money We spent Wednesday, Thursday, and we drove back really fast Friday. We did know that the balloons didn't go up that morning, but it was enjoyable. I would like to thank all of the council, all of the staff that took part in the special city council meeting. I'd like to thank Councilman Bailey for chairing that meeting, and everyone that made time in their schedule to, I know Kyle was trying to get across the border, I think, or something, weren't you? And again. And I don't know exactly where Dean was, but I was in Cheyenne, and Carla, we couldn't find you.
Well, I called in,
But we could only get
could only connect three.
three of us, so we bounced you out.
I said I'll just.
I apologize. They should have bounced me and got you in, so. But we do appreciate everybody's altering their schedule. I appreciated Councilman Bailey's advice to the bar owners and to those organizers to get their paperwork in on time. And we would hope to make that happen, so we don't have to do that. Got into town, dropped Tony off at 5:30, and I was a little late getting to the car show to get my car in. We should have just drove the truck in and parked it. But we really had a lot of fun. That's the most cars I've ever seen on Main Street for a car show. And we had a wonderful staff of police officers who were there. It was just an amazing operation. And I called Tom Davenport and thanked Tom because I don't think any of us, when I got him on the phone, it was amazing what he had to go through to get that open in time and get the state of Wyoming off his back to let traffic pass on that street. And so just really appreciative of the companies that we work with. The Hill Street has been well done. It's had its problems, but the contractors have just been excellent to work with, and they're doing their very best. And the pipe placement on Main Street up on the top half it's amazing that that's done. And we're just fortunate to have all of this work that's being done, and I appreciate all the work that's being done. And the car show was spectacular. The street dance that night was spectacular. The balloon rally on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We must have wore Megan out. She couldn't take one more late evening.
Oh.
That's because she's young. She'll get used to it with the rest of us. But she did an amazing job, did she not? She really put it together. And so being the president of that organization, most of that was done by the Rendezvous Committee. I keep saying it, we can't do this without our committees. Our committees really make a difference in Riverton. And so it really helps. The Kiwanis had a breakfast up there. My wife didn't go with me, and when I came back and said I got breakfast for $5 at the Kiwanis, she wasn't pleased with me. So I'd like to thank the balloonists. The balloonist that we sponsored was exceptional. I just got to tell you, I didn't get to ride, but the way he flew that balloon, he could make a 90-degree turn in the wind. So impressive. He was from North Carolina. Drove 40 hours to get to Riverton to do what he did. And so, but the really impressive thing in my mind was the people of Riverton came out to all of those activities. Main Street was just packed at the car show. The launch field was packed. The glow we haven't been able to do for at least 5 years. Does anybody know when our last time we did the glow?
I believe it was in 2015, and I've only seen it twice now since I've been here.
And it was, and I got it on tape. So if anybody wants to see them, or we ought to put those together and make a presentation that we can send around, because it's impressive what that balloon glow was like. And that new balloon that we got, and what they did was, this is working. Saturday, they tethered the black balloon and just gave rides for $10. And then Sunday, they tethered the white balloon and gave rides. And so if you're not brave enough to ride the balloon loose without a rope on it, you can ride it another way. And so It's just amazing what happened. And then I would really like to express my gratitude to the people that sponsored balloons. I believe we thought we had 31. Did we just end up with 28, Kristen?
We did.
28?
Yep.
And so we didn't break the record, and we've had 30 before? Is that right? We had 30 registered, but did they all show up?
Yep, they did.
They did.
Last year, yeah.
So we need to press a little hard for next year and break that record, right? So I just wanted to tell everybody, it's a real team effort. We have great staff, we have great council, and most of all, we have great people in Riverton, Wyoming. And for them to come and back all of those things day after day after day, that wears out Megan. She can't do the next council meeting. We'll train her up, but it's impressive what we do. So I thank you all for that. And with that, we have an executive session this evening that we're going to go into.
Your Honor, can I just say one more thank you to Kyle and the Parks and Rec and everything? They went and marked the whole city park prior to the day our happy days. And then they came that day too and picked up they have done an amazing job. They've gotten the nets up at Sunset for the tennis courts. And they're down positions. So they're working hard. I've talked to them and they're really doing a great job. So please thank them for all of that. And I also shared with Eric some incidents with the police and thank them as well.
Anybody else have any comments? The chair would entertain a motion to convene into executive session for the purpose of personnel, consideration of appointments, employment, right to practice, dismissal, complaints, or charges against public officers, professional persons, or employees in accordance with the Wyoming Statute 16-4-405 AII, and for the purpose of consideration of offers, tendered wages, salaries, benefits, and terms of employment during negotiations in accordance with Wyoming Statute 16-4-405 AX.
So moved.
Second.
I would entertain a motion to reconvene into regular session.
So moved.
So, second.
Councilman Pronto has the motion, and Councilwoman Borders has the second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Action items from the executive session, if any.
Your Honor.
The chair would entertain a motion as of,
Your Honor, I would move that we instruct the staff to bring forth a ordinance, or whatever we call it, to have the city council and the mayor participate and approve of hiring of department head positions.
Kristen, you got that?
Question. In the motion, we're making the decision not to bring forward the
Right.
ordinance.
So yes, I move that we do that, and then the staff can bring us the appropriate ordinance
To make that
in
change.
the future.
Second.
So Councilman Bailey has the motion.
Second.
Kyle has the second.
Lindsay already had it.
Lindsay's got the second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. We stand, unless there is someone that would,
We forgot to thank Kim Hummel for
oh, we did.
Happy Days. She was the chair of Happy Days and did an amazing job, an amazing amount of work with
Mrs.
all of her stuff.
Mrs.
She was the
Hubble
chair, but-
was exceptional, and Happy Days was a real success. And we appreciate what she did for us, and so we'd like to thank her publicly, correct?
Yes.
Without any objections to adjourn, I would have us adjourned at 10:24.